to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies might have inspired it. And today on the show, we are live from downtown cinemas to talk about Kevin Smith's Dogma from 1999. This is the 25th anniversary, and this is the first time I've done a live show on an older movie, so we had a really fun time with this one. Got to twist up the format a little bit, as you will see in our great conversation with Joe Black, Jason Harris, and Anne Flagg, who joined me for this one. We had a great crowd and just a really fun time. So that's coming up here in a second. Before we get to it, I do want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow us on social media at PiecingPod. And don't forget, we have 2 more live shows coming up this month in June. So if you are hearing this and if you are in Las Vegas, you can enter to win tickets right now for June 19th, 28 years later at Maya Cinemas, and then back at Downtown Cinemas, June 26th, Megan 2.0. Both are going to be awesome shows. And again, you can enter to win tickets right now at piecingpod.com. So go ahead and do that. We want to see you out at these shows. And with that said, let's get to today's episode on Dogma. All right, so we're going to get this podcast started here. We're going to talk about Dogma. My name is David Rosen. I'm the host of the Piecing It Together podcast. Before we get into the movie, though, I want to introduce my guest here. First of all, returning from L.A., Joe Black. How's it going, Joe?
It's going very well. I'm disappointed. That Q&A, I was there. I asked the first question, and they cut it out. And my wife and I are sitting behind everybody asking, so you can't see me in it, but you can see her hand.
They cut around you, basically.
They really did, actually. I'm a little sad because, I mean, Evening with Kevin Smith, you know, his little Q&A DVD is just as like influential as his movies at that time. And to have been a part of something like that would have been great. But, you know, fuck me, whatever.
Aside from hanging out at Kevin Smith Q&As, tell everybody what you do.
I'm a filmmaker. That's what I do. I'm a filmmaker, writer, director, editor, sound design. I author Blu-rays now too. So there you go. In Los Angeles, been there for 13 years now. Making movies with my wife. We're getting ready to make another one soon. So that is what I do. Right on. Jason Harris returning to the show. How's it going, Jason?
I noticed 3 people clapped for Joe and no one clapped for me. So that's better. That's better.
Seems accurate. Introduce yourself, Jason.
I'm Jason. That's it. I'm good. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay, good enough. First time on the show, Anne Flagg over there. How's it going, Anne?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. I'm excited to talk about this movie. But first, tell everybody what you do.
Hi, I'm Jason Harris. No, that's I'm a food critic and comedian and show producer.
Yeah.
Right? I was just trying to give Jason some credit for all the things that he does.
Yeah, she was being nice to me, but she has all her own credits.
Well, no, I was going to start with you because you just skipped over yourself, and I don't know.
It's sad, isn't it?
You're important too.
Thank you. Told you guys.
Well, Jason, do you want to do her intros?
Oh yeah, do you mind?
I'm Anne Flagg. My life is a dumpster fire right now.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
They don't know. They don't fucking know.
Again, I didn't know this was a roast.
I'm a very talented comedian. I work in LA and Las Vegas a lot, and that's pretty much.
And I work on a horror movie reaction channel called Final Girlz.
There you go.
Check that out.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so excited to get into Dogma here. There was a time like when this came out, like in the early 2000s, when I would have called this one of my favorite movies, but I literally have not seen it in like almost 20 years at this point. I wondered, before we start getting into the whole puzzle piece thing, you guys, like, when's the last time you watched this movie? I'm sure we all loved this movie, right?
Yeah, the only thing I remember about Dogma the first time watching it was the credits, because the guy I was on a date with put it in, and then we did not watch the movie. So he put it in and then he put it in. So we didn't get to really see any of it. I just remember Alanis Morissette as God, and then the credits. So great movie, fantastic, great night, but it's not in my life.
I sat next to Anne during this movie and did not have the same experience. So what the heck? I think I saw it on opening night because I was a Kevin Smith nerd back then, and like, the only thing I've agreed with Kevin Smith about in the last 20 years was cutting Joe out of the Q&A. But it was nice to revisit something that I liked more than what he's done this the last 2 decades and everything.
Yeah, Jason's been on my podcast for a bunch of Kevin Smith related things, and on his own podcast, Awesome Movie Year. And we've talked about how much we have not liked anything that he's done basically in the last decade. And so it's great to revisit when he was amazing. And like those first 4 movies are just so funny. And anytime I go,
debatable.
Bob Strike Back.
Yeah.
sure, 5, yeah, absolutely. So
I like the 3 and 2.
Did you like Clerks 2?
I think Clerks 2 is all right. I don't dislike it.
Yeah.
I think Zack and Miri would be the last thing where I was like, this is
sure,
good.
yeah, no, absolutely. What about you, Joe? I mean, I know.
Yeah, this movie changed my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this was I saw this. I didn't see it in theaters, which is weird because my father and I saw everything in theaters. But I was visiting my aunt for Christmas that year, and my cousin got it on VHS, and I got really sick, and I was hanging out in their pool house, and I watched it, and I sincerely, I watched it like 14 times during that week-long visit. I watched it once or twice a day. And it changed everything.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's incredible, and I'm sure I saw it at least 3 or 4 times in the theaters, and But so what we do here on Piecing It Together, we talk about a movie through the lens of what movies might have inspired it. This is the first time we've done one of these live shows at the movie theater on an older movie. So what we're going to do today is a little bit different. We're going to twist up the format. We're going to start off with some, we call them puzzle pieces, movies that might have inspired the movie. We're going to start off with a few each instead of going around in a circle. And then we're going to also get into some movies, since this is 25 years old, some movies since that this might have inspired itself. And so I will kick it off with some things that I think might have inspired this movie, starting off with maybe some Monty Python, as far as mixing up religion and just totally irreverent humor. Mixing that up with maybe some Marvel superhero stuff going on, some Thor, some, any of those things, which of course have become just all that there is when it comes to entertainment over the last, 20 years or so. But like those are the first 2 things that kind of come to mind as I'm thinking back to Dogma before watching it. While watching it right now, again, for the first time in 20 years, I kept thinking about Ghostbusters, and a movie that I'd never really kind of associated with it, but just this team of just kind of goofs and just dealing with all the supernatural stuff, and a lot of explaining to do for how all that supernatural stuff works. I thought there's a lot of Ghostbusters here. I mean, as far as those 3, were any of you guys thinking of either of those while you were watching this movie?
Monty Python for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
Life of Brian and Meaning of Life. And,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But not Ghostbusters though. I was thinking of Blues Brothers.
Okay, sure.
It's very
Mission from God.
Yeah, they're on a mission.
Mission
God
from God,
even does
yeah.
the John Landis credits at the end, where you have every actor's like little blooper with their name on there, and
Sure.
and they're on. It's like a road movie, and and he, I know way too much about the Kevin Smith lore. Like his
Sure.
original comedy team was called the Skamods, which is from Blues Brothers. So that's where I was going with it. But I guess we could just say Dan Aykroyd then.
Dan Aykroyd in
It's
general,
Brian, right?
sure. Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely. What about you guys? Were either of you thinking about any of those 3?
I definitely was thinking the Marvel superheroes.
Sure.
But I was thinking that it was like for the later ones, inspiring Avengers.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
motley crew coming together and all having to like deal with different stuff and have a different background, but they're all a team.
Yeah.
This
no.
inspired the Avengers. I like it.
I was
I
watching.
think it will come up.
I was watching Mallrats today, which is an early instance of Kevin Smith's gaps in logic infuriating me, which is my least favorite thing. There's so many gaps in logic,
yeah.
Anne was
Oh, yeah.
pointing out during the movie.
I know I thought you were going to steal it from me right now.
No, I was
when
kidding.
when Alan Rickman snapped and put them in a different place, I was like, why didn't he just put them in New Jersey in the first? Which
Because
like
the movie
okay, then
has
we
to
wouldn't have a
happen.
movie, right?
It's
But
the
it's like,
Wizard, no, it's the Wizard of Oz thing. Like why didn't you just tell her she could click her heels because she wouldn't have believed me? Bethany has to go on the journey. They even say at the end that God could have stopped it the whole time, but they wanted Bethany to go on the journey.
Yeah,
no, but
that's
God
so
couldn't have stopped it
convenient.
because he was
That's
in
fine.
a coma.
That's
like,
movies,
I don't know.
No, that's
It's-
Kevin
it's a
Smith
story.
movies. That's not all movies.
It's you paint the story, you tell the tale. I
Yeah.
get it.
So Mallrats starts with the comic book credits of
Sure.
everyone, and then Jason Lee, who's got literally a library's worth full of comic books, doesn't know that Stan Lee is going to be at his hometown mall in a small town of New Jersey, and they're like, "How did this get by me? I don't know." And it's like, Jesus, dude, like it's so lazy. And I missed when I was younger, because I love Clerks. It's one of my favorite movies ever. And so these logical inconsistencies didn't really present themselves. And now in the last 20 years, they just drive me crazy because he does it in every movie that he makes now. And
You
just
got to
bothers
just
me so
enjoy the movie.
No, it's
you know?
lazy.
No, it's not. It just got cut out. Again, I know too much. And like Brody, the whole idea is that he was actually like really falling in love with Renee, and that's what made him realize that he's not actually slipping; he's actually growing up. Like, I mean,
Was that in the movie?
It is if you watch it.
But, between the lines.
Well, no, I mean, that is movies, right? Like, you're supposed to like, but it is directly in the Mallrats X version. That
Oh,
version.
okay.
Which-
yeah. All right. Well, Joe, let's go on to some from you. What do you got?
What? Oh,
Some
the
pieces
movies
that-
inspired this.
yeah.
Well, like the Blues Brothers is the big one. Also, I would say Jesus Christ Superstar.
Okay.
I think that Jesus Christ Superstar, the movie, not necessarily the album or the Broadway show, but the movie specifically is about a bunch of college students going to like ancient ruins and reenacting the last week of Christ's life as their question of faith. Like they're questioning the whole idea of faith versus religion and like what do they actually believe from the Bible, but they're doing it in good faith. They're like engaging with it, and I think that Dogma does the same thing. It's like engaging with that question in good faith,
Sure.
I think that's actually what's missing from a lot of satire. Like satire got kind of like swept into cynicism, and they're not the same thing. They're not as enjoyable. That's why you don't see spoof movies anymore. Because the lines are too blurred. But Jesus Christ Superstar and Blues Brothers were the two that were like leaping out at me, and Wizard of Oz, I guess, just on the surface with the whole clicking of the heels idea, and also them saying goodbye at the end and all lining up.
I was talking to a friend about this like a couple of days ago before this show, and we were talking about how Dogma, when it came out that opening weekend, it was like it felt like that's just not a movie that could happen. Like,
Sure.
We're like, how can you put this in a movie? And just how exciting and electric. And I know a friend of the show, Perry, over here, this is his first time seeing it. He's a lot younger than us, but if you could imagine what it was like in 1999, it's like movies like this just simply did not really exist. And like, I think Jesus Christ Superstar is like probably something where it's like, you just don't think something like that could happen.
Well, for the youth culture at the time, like, it's 69 to 72 or whatever, like rock and roll was like the new voice.
Sure.
Of, like, and for us, for our generation in the late 90s, it was comedy. Like that was like, the birth of like Adam Sandler, the MTV kind of like, that was, so it's the same thing. It's like literally using like the most popular form of like a culture at the time.
Yeah,
To ask the
exactly.
question in good faith.
Exactly.
Why do you say movies like this didn't exist?
Well, I mean, it felt so out there. It just felt so like insane that you could make a movie that was both exploring religion in this way, but also making fun of certain aspects of it. And it just was so irreverent. And Jay and Silent Bob were just so, I mean, they were amped up so much to like 11 on this movie from anything we had seen them before. And I don't think there were any other like comedy teams that were kind of making jokes and all the sex stuff like it was at the time. I mean, do you disagree with that?
Yeah, I always disagree with everything.
Yeah,
you
I know,
say.
that's
so,
true.
I
Yeah.
mean, the first thing that I thought of was, and kind of piggybacking on what you're saying, was Last Temptation of Christ, Scorsese, 87-ish, right? And that was the same type of backlash against,
Sure.
Martin Scorsese and Defoe, and like, how could you portray religion in this way, and blah, blah, blah. Obviously, a totally different tone.
Sure, exactly.
But I mean, the 90s, and I think, what was this, 2000?
This was 99.
So
Yeah.
like, you're in the golden age of American independent cinema, right? So everyone's taking chances, whether it's religion or something else. So maybe specifically I hear what you're saying, but I think in a general sense,
I
don't
think this was a lot broader, though. Like, I think everybody was out at the movie theater watching this. I don't think your friends were all going out to see Last Temptation of Christ, getting drunk and like.
I don't think everyone went out to see this though.
Oh,
I mean,
me and my friends certainly were.
Yeah, well, because it's rated R. But this was pop culture, and it is sincere. I think that's one of the things that makes it like kind of stand out from other things around that time. This was the birth of like when slacker stoner comedies started saying, "Hey, we're real people." Like you got people like Kevin Smith who made this movie, and he legitimized the genre and the generation by like how well articulated he was, how like thoughtful he was, and how interesting he was, which we weren't used to in stoner comedies. And you got Adam Sandler on the other side, who's humanizing the slacker versus the slobs versus the snobs kind of genre. He's humanizing it in a, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
It was kind of a weird time of change of how do I put it? Authenticating that genre. So I think that maybe that's what was like so exciting about it at the time. It's
Sure.
like, here's an R-rated stoner comedy that actually is about something very
yeah.
directly. You
Yeah.
know, that is kind of cool.
I think that's definitely part of what I'm like getting at there. But Jason, let's go to some from you.
Yeah, so still disagree with that theory too, because you can go back to other stoner comedies before that. Well, when I come back in my mind over here. So
Yeah, sure.
May I posit that even if it's not the only one, it doesn't mean it wasn't influential.
Sure,
Like,
totally.
and that's what we're trying to say is that like it may not have been the only thing happening. It was like this big force that wasn't a huge impact.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
this
and
whole-
to that point, I mean, the same year, I was almost going to put it on my list until I realized it was the same year, but South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut was 99 as well, and that also just
That's
felt like,
huge.
holy
Yeah.
shit, how does this movie exist, you know?
Well, I mean, you know, to slacker comedies, there's a movie called Slacker. That was
Yeah, but that's not a slacker comedy, though.
Yeah,
Like,
and
that's-
nobody
that's
saw
a
it,
Totally.
everyone saw. It was
No,
like
everybody
a
saw it
huge
eventually.
art
You went
house
back and
movie.
watched
That's
it.
art house.
Yeah.
This movie has Chris Rock, like in his
Right.
prime. This movie has
Who's
you know,
terrible
Hans
in this
Gruber.
movie, by the way.
Yeah, it kind of is, yeah.
All right, movies that influenced it besides Last Temptation. Obviously, I wasn't going to pick Mighty Ducks because it's referenced in there, so I'll go with The Warriors, one of the great
Sure.
movies. There are some less than adequate gang fights in here, but utilizing a sporting piece of equipment.
Love it.
For weaponry. I put that in there. Let's see. I mean, dude, there's the whole scene about John Hughes in there. I love John Hughes. So I went with Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, right? You
Okay.
have this mismatched group like traveling from one area to the next, and they couldn't get there with a snap of a finger, right? So, and then the last one I'll say is the Muppet movie, which I think this definitely has a lot of feels for. And then directly, I would say the reimagining of the image of Jesus remind me of how Doc Hopper wanted to use Kermit to soften up his Royal Eggs brand. So that's where I'm coming from. Nobody ever agrees with me about anything. So.
I'll agree with you on the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles one. That's a great one. But no, yeah, they're all good. I don't want to give you too much credit, but, you know, they're all pretty
blame
damn
you.
good. So, all right, Ann, let's go over there. What do you got?
Okay. I don't know if I really did the assignment correctly, but
That's
I was
fine.
thinking just like portions, like made me think of like Sister Act when they're like trying to make Catholicism cool.
You
know?
absolutely did the assignment. So,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
there you go.
that was like one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
it was
that's
like
great.
that was one that I would watch over and over, and
How
just
about
like,
the sequel?
oh yeah, it's just as good as this first one,
Hell
which
yeah.
rarely
Back in
happens,
the
right?
habit.
Agreed.
Yeah, Lauren Hill.
Yeah, she's
like,
good.
Yeah.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yes.
There you go.
I don't know. Good points.
Do you have any others you want to bring up?
I was thinking that kind of the fight scenes were maybe came from like Gremlins a little bit, like
Okay.
and like the ship monster. I don't know, the demon or whatever.
Golgotha.
There's like that kind of like because it's like this supernatural whatever, and they're trying to. I like the first fight scene with like the hockey kids, and they're like trying to. They're not really showing it, but they're kind of showing it. You know,
Right.
It's kind of that like PG, like you
The
know.
PG action.
Yeah,
kind of
it's like
thing.
there's score, but not really.
Yeah,
you know what's
yeah.
happening.
And Gremlins goes so, you know, right along with my Ghostbusters and like that whole just
Yeah.
era of PG, fun, silly, goofy action comedy, you know, with supernatural stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff there. Absolutely.
And I was thinking Friday the 13th influenced like the hockey stick kind of. Did you say that?
No, we were.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Like,
blessed hockey
Yeah,
stick.
I'm all about kills in
Yeah.
movies. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we will move on to some movies we think Dogma possibly inspired. Like I said, it's been 25 years, and so I think there's plenty of stuff that could be brought up here. I wrote down a few things, starting off with Bruce Almighty, the Jim Carrey comedy, as far as like, you know, the effects of religion as a real thing on people. So you got that. Also, maybe not the exact tone, but I was thinking of Religulous, the Bill Maher documentary that tried to kind of paint all religions as ridiculous and like here's where some of the truth comes from. And Bill Maher, not so great nowadays, but back then I remember loving that movie, and I haven't seen it since it came out, but I think like there was kind of a through line of these. We're talking about things that were, you know, comedies, more broad, mainstream things that dealt with religion and all the silliness of it all. And this was part of that. South Park was part of it. And Religulous, I think, was definitely a big part of that moment in time anyway. And then I kind of just have to throw this one in. It probably doesn't even really fit that well, but because it's one of my favorite movies, The 10, David Wayne's 2007 follow-up to Wet Hot American Summer that nobody watched. But I think it's just as funny as Wet Hot American Summer. For anybody who hasn't seen it, it is 10 vignettes that are each based on one of the 10 commandments. And Paul Rudd is kind of the through line, but then all of the people that you know from like Wet Hot American Summer or The State or Role Models or like any of those comedies that David Wayne made, they're all basically in it, and all of the segments are just completely ridiculous. And they use a kind of through line of, these religious stories, so you kind of have a backbone for where all the stories are going to go. And so using that, and in this case, using religion and using the Bible and using all these characters, a lot of which I did not know going into this movie back when it came out. I had no idea who any of these angels were or any of this stuff, but I'm not a religious person. So, but anyway, so those are the ones that I was thinking of.
You did the whole spectrum there, because like Bruce Almighty is one of those like good faith movies, and then Religulous is a bad faith movie.
Sure.
And then the 10 is a no faith movie.
I love it.
Like the 10 doesn't have anything to do with
It's just
God
pure
or spirit.
goofiness.
It's literally, it
Yeah.
just uses them as the structure. Which
Yeah, yeah.
Is, and Religulous, again, to me, that movie, like, see, I'm one of those guys that I've actually been saying from minute one, like, Bill Maher, like, fucking sucked.
Yeah,
and
right.
Elon Musk, way before. I just been like, fuck both these guys. Because
Yeah.
I don't think that anything good comes out of a bad faith argument with somebody you disagree with, especially when, like, the majority of the world either believes in or has an opinion about something. Like, to be an asshole about it just for the sake of being an asshole because you don't like it, that's a weird thing to want everybody to watch.
Sure. Yeah.
Bruce Almighty, I also don't think, you talk about like these logic gaps and stuff. I feel like Bruce Almighty backs itself into a corner in a weird way, where the idea is so like rich that you could only fuck it up because there's so much you'd have to do with that idea,
Yeah.
and the movie doesn't do enough
Yeah.
with the idea.
Yeah.
But engages with it too much.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I actually think Dogma is better than everything you just mentioned, even though I love the 10.
Yeah, well, the 10 would be my favorite, but I definitely agree between the other two for sure. What any you guys think about those ones at all?
I don't understand what you're saying about Bruce Almighty being too broad and they didn't do not like. Were you looking for a sequel or?
No, I mean like the ideas that
There was a
engage
sequel, but
Oh,
Yeah.
well, no, but it wasn't. It was like Evan or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It actually started as a different script and then sold for like $4 million because they were like, we could make this a Bruce Almighty sequel. And
Yeah.
But no, what I mean by that is similar to like Groundhog Day, where like that idea is so incredible. Like there's so much that you could explore in it, and you can't really do that in a 2-hour movie necessarily. And
I
if you do,
see.
like I have a bigger problem with Bruce Almighty in that regard, because like the idea of somebody getting the power of God, and not only getting the power of God but having to take the place of God while living in everyday life, there's
Right.
a lot you could do with that idea, and they just went for the gag end of it, which
yeah.
is fine. That's fine, but I
Like,
mean, it's to
if
me,
you don't
that's not as interesting.
use the correct, like the right examples, then you're just like, what's the point of showing any of it? Or
Yeah,
right,
well,
like
they
if,
get too much
it would have been a
into-
better movie if they used all like the
Yeah.
better ways of using this power.
yeah.
We have to stop this insanity right now. You just said Groundhog Day and Bruce Almighty did the same thing. Was that the
Well,
point?
I mean, no.
Groundhog Day is a 5-star movie, dude. So
I mean, if you like what it
Perfect
does,
movies,
well,
yes.
I mean,
So,
to me, perfect is I don't know. Like I just wanted to go a little deeper. Like I like, or don't go deep at all. Like do one or the other. Like in Groundhog Day, he does that whole montage where he kills himself a bunch of times, right? I remember watching that movie for the first time in my mom's office because they had a video library at her office. I watched that when she would have me at work. I'm watching it. I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I remember thinking like, well, why doesn't he kill somebody else? Like what is it? Well, what
maybe
does
he
that do
didn't-
to him?
Maybe he
No,
didn't
but
want
seriously,
to kill anybody
I mean,
else.
in 10,000
Maybe he's not a crazy
in 10,000
person.
years in 10,000 years that he spends in
Yeah,
that day
yeah.
that we find out now. But again, it's like, well, where is that
Yeah.
idea? If you want to explore
Didn't they
the
do that in Palm
think-
Springs? They actually do. Kill
Yeah,
someone?
but
yeah,
that-
like
but
They
see, that's
explore that
another-
in
Yeah.
so many time loop movies, though. Like,
Sure,
it's
no,
always-
I'm,
yeah.
I'm not even saying that necessarily as a criticism to Bruce or Groundhog Day. I'm saying for me personally, I like something that actually doesn't mind stopping a plot to like get into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what interests me as an audience, and even as a little kid, that's what interests
This
me.
is a different podcast, so we'll have to argue about. Because
We'll argue.
I would disagree with all that. Furthermore, in good faith, I will tell you the 10 is not nearly as good as Wet Hot American Summer.
I
it's
love them
okay,
both.
so.
They're.
I mean,
well,
I like all the state stuff.
I know you
but
do. I know you
guys
do.
are. This side is drunk. and
I want to go on a quick
Dude,
tangent,
I think
and
you're
then
the
we'll
most
get into
contrarian
Joe's
person I've ever
pieces.
met. I'm sorry.
Guys, does
Maybe
Kevin
so.
Smith have any 5-star movies?
Yes,
Which ones?
this one is one of them.
Okay.
in my
No,
opinion.
that's not true. Clerks would be the closest thing.
Clerks
to
is
it.
also one. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
Oh, I have to choose one. I don't.
You don't have to if you don't think.
It's just been a really long time since I've seen like.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back as well.
I would say Clerks and probably Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. This one is very close, but
Zack
maybe
and
not
Miri?
quite there. But
That's a good.
Zach and Miri.
Well, to be fair,
yeah, Zack and Miri's
Well,
great.
but I mean, like again, like the rubric though, like what is 5 stars? You know,
well, to yourself, to
yeah,
you,
like
you know.
and for me again, like I'm very forgiving of like your purpose and your originality are what matter the most to me. Like how well you pulled it off comes after. I mean, it's important, but like your purpose and your originality, that's what I latch onto when I see a movie.
Yeah.
And this movie has that like.
That's why I don't like any of his recent movies, because there is no purpose or originality.
I mean,
to any of them,
I
but-
don't disagree. I don't disagree. I did like 4:30 movie, and
It was all
I
right.
love Tusk. Tusk was the last honest movie that he made.
Yeah, Tusk was fun.
14.
Yeah, a long time.
yeah,
ago.
it was-
But Joe, let's start going to some from you. What do you got?
The Matrix Reloaded,
Okay.
specifically the second one, because again, you've got like the Matrix. The first one, like poked around with the philosophy and theology, and all that. But the second one, like got into it so deep, it was kind of like insane to watch the first time. And it's this big summer action, martial arts sci-fi movie that will like hit the brakes to talk to a character named the Merovingian. You know what I mean? About like where science and God actually meet, and if there is a difference between the two.
The Wachowskis were on something.
Yeah. They were on that Dogma.
Yeah.
I think it was estrogen.
That's pretty funny. But no, yeah,
I get it.
that's like the main one that kind of leaps out at me. The other thing I would say is the Righteous Gemstones,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
actually think that's why that show is so great, because it is a good faith show.
Right,
Like, you know what I
100%,
mean?
yeah.
Because there's such a difference, and I think we're all kind of like waking up to it, like as a society, that there is a difference between religion and faith.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what Kevin's trying to get at in this movie, but he was 23 when he wrote
Right,
it.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So he calls it an idea versus a belief, but that's not actually what he's struggling with. Like that's not the conflict that he's at. It's literally the idea of religion versus believing in something or having faith in something.
Yeah.
And that's my only thing watching this movie now that's different, 25 years later, is that now I understand that distinction. But to be honest, I don't know that I would have started on the journey to understanding that distinction without Dogma.
Right,
At
right.
12 or 13 or whatever I was when it came out.
Hmm.
But yeah, so Righteous Gemstones, the best show maybe ever.
It is
And
the best show
The
ever.
Matrix Reloaded, my favorite of that bizarre franchise. And then I just got to say, there are 16 movies, soon to be 17, that are a direct result of this movie in my mind.
I was going to ask
They,
you that.
they
Yeah.
really are. This is the movie that I always wanted to be involved in movies. I knew that from the minute I was cognizant, but I thought I wanted to be an actor, even though I hated acting. And then I saw this movie, and I found out the guy who made it was in it. He wrote and directed it, and that's what inspired me to start writing and directing. And I realized that that's what I had been wanting to do all along.
Yeah.
And it started. I picked up a camera a month later and started making movies, and now. I've made 16 features.
Wow.
If this movie doesn't exist, man, like I don't know my wife. You know what I mean? Like I don't know any of you guys. Like truly. And I got to talk to Kevin about that kind of publicly in that whole spat we had a couple of years ago. And I tried to tell him when I gave him Natasha Hall, I was like, this is, I want to give you this movie because it's, this exists because of you. And he's like, no, man, it's because of you. You get all the credit. And I'm like, no, like stop. You can be the inspiration. You can be the hero. You can be the beginning of the journey. Like he doesn't allow himself that, and that bums me out. He's a very fearful person. That's what holds this movie back, is he's afraid to actually go deeper. Whether it's because he wants to make money or because he doesn't want to piss off anybody, or you know what I mean, like whatever it is. But as soon as he gets rid of that fear, like if he can, I think he's gonna shine again. Like truly, and that's why I like 4:30 movies so much, even though it was like, overall, I liked it because it was the first movie that he had made in a decade and a half that was coming from a good place.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You know what I mean? And I hope the best for Dogma too, although come on. You know.
I didn't want to cut you off. I didn't want to be rude, but I really didn't know this was going to be a roast. That's so crazy.
We all love each other, though.
No,
so.
I think it's great. I think your insight is really interesting about your inspiration to become a filmmaker. I think that's really awesome that you actually got to talk to that person that inspired you.
Oh, we've had a whole.
It's another reason I'm angry at Kevin Smith. But no, I love Joe, obviously. But what Joe's talking about, if you don't know, is after Clerks 3 came out, he put out an hour reaction video on YouTube going over all the logical inconsistencies and why it doesn't work.
But
and it got a lot of traction to it, right?
Yeah, that's only because Kevin asked me to.
Okay.
Like I went to a test screening and of the movie a year before it came out, and he came out afterward and was like, "Who in here liked the movie?" And everybody raised their hand. He was like, "Okay, who in here did like the movie?" And me and my brother, we raised our hands, and he made the mistake of saying, "Oh, what didn't you like about it?" You know, and I went, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, really." I was like, "You want me to tell you?" He's like, "Yeah, I do." And I did. And then he yelled at me, got really mad, and like I'm talking 40 minutes of just like tearing into me. So he told me to write him an email. I did. He never responded. So a year later, when the movie's coming out, my wife said, "Turn that into a fucking YouTube video because other people are going to agree." I did. He checked himself into a mental hospital.
Not because of you.
Actually,
They said it was because he was dealing with remembering that he was molested. Are you saying you molested him with your reaction?
no. What I'm saying is that he realized he was horribly depressed. And check this out. So this is Q&A.
Is this the part we're going to cut out of the podcast?
This is
isn't
the most
making sense.
important part.
No, truly, this Q&A that they played after the movie tonight, like the clips from, I was there. Like I said, I was the first question. And when I got up to the mic, he was like, "Who we got on the mic?" I said, "It's Joe Black." And he goes, Joe Black, everybody. Joe Black is the only person who was honest with me about Clerks 3. That's like how he started the whole fucking thing.
That's
And-
awesome.
Yeah, and my question to him was like, about Dogma 2. It's like, you said you're going to make Dogma 2. When you made the first one, you believed in God. Now you don't. How is that going to affect Dogma 2? And he went into this whole spiel about he lost his faith while making this movie because George Carlin made fun of him for it, and then Scott Mosier wouldn't stop making fun of him for it. So he gave it up, and he talked about how that made him horribly depressed, and how he just started hating himself and being ashamed of himself, and how he wished that he could believe in God again, but how that could never happen. And then the second half of that Q&A footage is from the next Q&A that I got invited into because of my question in the first one. And in that Q&A, he's talking to somebody else about the same thing, and he says, "Maybe I will believe in God again one day. Like, maybe I will. Like, why shut the door?" Like,
Maybe you inspired him to never say never.
Jason, have you ever
Thanks.
inspired anybody to do anything?
Yeah, but nothing good.
Okay.
So
What do you got over there?
Oh, thank you, Sonny. Movies that this film inspired. By the way, I don't dislike this movie. I just think we got to chill out just a little, fellas.
Why?
Because you're overinflating what it actually. But that's okay.
No, this
We're-
mo-
Let
this
them
movie
love what they
rules.
love, Jason.
I am, and I'm just saying I will disagree
Okay.
You can.
clearly, respectfully, and with nothing but love for. Okay, let's go on. I mean, it's Step Brothers right away. You can look at multiple aspects of it and the relationships, and even there's a who yells rape at one point in time there, which was in Step Brothers you definitely have the I actually thought he was gonna rape me, and everything. So there was a man. I think it was probably Jay who yelled
It was
at
Jay, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that was one right away there. I mean, we're talking about movies where we're talking about the idea of faith and what you believe, and if you still believe. And the best one of those in the last 10 years is First Reformed, the Paul Schrader movie. So
Great movie.
I would highly recommend that if you've never seen that movie. I love that movie, and it really deals with what you're talking about, I think, in a much deeper, honest way than everything. See?
I haven't seen it. I don't like him as
Amateur
a director.
hour over here.
I don't like him as a director.
Don't like Paul Schrader.
As a director, I don't.
That's okay. It's all right. And then
That's not a criticism.
it's okay. I mean, Hamilton, right? They keep talking about New Jersey and how, I mean, this is a clear example of how anything's legal in New Jersey right there. So those were the big three that I pulled from there.
Hamilton.
Thank you, everybody.
There you go. Wow. Good stuff. Let's go over to you, Anne.
Yeah, I first want to start off by saying Ted Lasso is the best TV show ever made, not
Never
Righteous
seen
Gemstones. So
I actually haven't seen
if
it
you
either.
haven't seen, oh my, it's phenomenal. It's if you watch it, you will change
Does
your
it
mind
have
on
Danny
it.
McBride in it? I'm asking.
Good question.
I'm asking.
It does not.
It doesn't,
Strike one.
but that's a testament to how good it is.
Oh, boy.
yes.
Except for the third season, but
Wait, he's in the
Whatever.
third season?
God, you're just so you just can't have whatever, dude. I thought this is Crossroads with Britney Spears.
Hell yeah.
You know, it's like a road trip movie, and they're like new friends getting together, and I don't know.
It was a new era of road trip movies in the 2000s. So,
So
I mean,
many
we
road
had a
trip
lot of
movies.
them. And then we get into Harold and Kumar and
We
all
had
that,
one called Road Trip.
We had Road Trip itself, absolutely. So,
Yeah, they break down and they're trying to figure out how to like keep moving, and because they have a goal, you know.
yeah.
The Book of Mormon, the play,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Exploring those themes of like religion and making fun of it, but then because even like I've read like a lot of Mormons love that play, like the musical.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen the Book of Mormon on?
It's so incredible.
it's
and
so good. I saw it on Broadway. It was just like, oh,
And you're right. It totally toes that same line of like it's making fun, but it's also
it's
celebrating.
making fun, but
and
it's like and
yeah.
it's like, you know, there is a little bit of a like test of faith where the guy like one of the main characters really wants to go to Orlando, and he ends up going to Africa, and he's like, God, like why are you doing this to me? But yeah, similar themes and very very fun. Magnificent Seven, which is like, you know, they have like a goal. There's like bad guy, and they're trying to save everybody, and then they get same like Avengers thing, you know, team coming together.
Yeah.
Get the gang together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like there's so many of those kind of get the gang together type movies, and especially once you get into like the goofy comedy mixed in, you get some really good stuff there. So, yeah, great stuff from everybody here. I do want to open up to the floor, see if anybody has anything. If you do throw something out, let us know if it inspired Dogma or Dogma inspired it. I saw a hand right up there right away.
Yeah, I think Dogma could have inspired the Book of Clarence.
Yes.
The Book
There's
of
a lot of
Clarence.
through lines there with playing around with the fallacy of the Bible or different stories here and there, things that were included or might have been true or false within the Bible, and kind of an alternate narrative there.
I haven't seen the Book of Clarence yet. I know that's the follow up from The Harder They Fall, right?
The harder they come.
The Harder They
Or
Come.
no, the harder they fall. The harder they come.
That's Jimmy
That's the
Yeah,
parody
okay.
version.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to see that movie. I know Joe talks really highly of it, and it got horrible reviews at the time. But that doesn't stop me.
It's
and,
fairly radical. Like
yeah.
again, it's one of those like original and I like the purpose behind it. So like again, like it's priorities for me. Like our priorities are aligned.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, right on. Yeah, I still got to get to that. Hand right here.
I'll say Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead.
And so obviously they have like a problem at hand, but it never feels like the stakes are too high. It feels like everything's kind of like relaxed and they're making jokes about things.
The
And then
tone, yeah.
I forget what his name is, but he's the funny like lazy guy in Shaun of the Dead. A lot of his lines were similar to some of these characters' lines. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Again, mixing that stoner comedy with something that could have higher stakes, but then it just kind of keeps them at a.
But what could have higher stakes than the world ending? See, this
But
is
it's
the
silly,
criticism.
though.
That's why
It's silly,
it's
though.
tone, like you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Right.
the
You
tone.
can have-
You could pull that off.
What do you mean?
It'd be a different genre of
Are
movie.
we talking about Dogma? or-
Yeah.
If it's a-
Do you want
I love
Paul
Shaun of the
Schrader
Dead.
to direct it? Is that what you're
Is
asking?
this on the table?
But the movie's about Bethany though. Like again, it's about like and again, it's this idea of like God can put that much consideration into one person, just like the movie can too. The movie's not about the end of the world. Like they specifically, it's about Bethany.
Right, it's about her
You know
and
what I mean?
her
And,
issues.
the glass getting refilled.
Yeah, I feel like that's the difference between an audience and a director, or like a movie maker and someone who like mostly only enjoys
This
film.
turned me
because-
into that though.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'd never seen anything like it, and at like 13 or whatever is when I saw it. I went, "Wow!" Like I've been here, and like I could be here and still laugh this much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
mhm.
that really inspired me. So.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the other things that we talked about kind of go right through Shaun of the Dead, and so I think that all like fits right in there. But we got a hand right up there.
I think comedy and religion portion kind of influences. This is the end of Seth Rogen,
This is the end.
Yes.
and Affleck and Damon's characters always remind me of the two brothers from that series.
Yes.
That's a really good one.
For sure.
Same time.
Yeah,
In
it
the
is.
same church, man?
Could be. Boondock Saints, that's definitely feels like the vibe they're going for with their characters there. I love that. That's great. And yeah, this is the end. That's a really fun movie and fits in again with Shaun of the Dead and all these kind of, again, low stakes ish, even though it's not, but yeah, with just total, slacker, ridiculous comedy mixed in there. So yeah, that's some really good stuff there. I think I saw a hand going up here.
I feel like Dogma was inspired by a lot of Mel Brooks movies,
Yeah.
mixing religion and making crude humor.
Yeah. I had Spaceballs written down on my list. I just didn't get to it.
Specifically at Pizza the Hut.
Yeah.
Shit Demon.
Yeah. I love that.
Maybe all Mel Brooks movies mix the religion with the crude humor.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was all over Dogma.
Absolutely.
That shit demon scene is the scene that makes it a 5-star movie. Like seriously, because again, the joke is that it's a giant poop monster, right? But then in the middle of all this action, we get this like backstory, like she's explaining what the Golgothan is. That like on the hill where Christ was crucified, everyone else who was killed
learned
up there,
something that day.
Well, like everyone else who was killed up there, like they were murderers, rapists, thieves, and then when they died, they let loose, and he turned in. And what's funny about that is that it's so clever. But it also is like, you're like, fuck, man, like maybe Satan would do some shit like that. And then you've got this joke at the end, knock strong odors out, and even the cutaways to it as it's being formed, like it stinks, cut to him. Wake up, it wakes up. Like that's so brilliantly constructed when all it had to be was a giant monster made out of shit.
I completely agree with you. I think that is something that viewers don't take notice of all the time,
Sure.
but it just adds so much to the experience in general. That you walk away thinking like, oh, man, that movie was so great, even though it's just funny, but it's so smart without us even realizing sometimes.
I'll say to Jason's credit though, like truly, like one of the things that keeps this movie from being like an actual classic instead of a cult classic like a Groundhog Day or something, is that it's not the audience's job to notice that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And like so, but it is our job as filmmakers. Like whether we're making this movie and we want to dig into it, or if we're making fucking Happy Gilmore. You know what I mean? Like it's our job as filmmakers to infuse the movie with that. Whether we want to discuss it in the movie or not, it's a different thing. The audience is just there to experience it. That's it. I won't even say enjoy, but to experience whatever they're seeing. And so I don't. I can see why this movie matters to filmmakers. Like filmmakers talk about Kevin Smith. Like fucking Paul Thomas Anderson references him in Licorice Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
The Marvel Miss Marvel movie. Like Stan Lee's reading the Mallrats script. Fucking I know Kanye West like samples him in on his last album or whatever. Like he's relevant to artists.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I wish he would see that. I wish he would.
I still think that's more from Clerks. I mean, it's always going to be the blueprint for that Kevin Smith style and everything. So, I mean, what I liked about this is like he's definitely reaching for something. I don't think he gets fully there. I think that was the knock on it when it came out too. But that's okay. Like I'd rather you take a big swing like this than do Jay and Silent Bob reboot, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
But Strike Back is very good.
Yes, I agree
Yeah,
with you
Strike
on
Back
that.
rules.
I would say Strike Back is actually his best movie as a director. Like the directing in that movie is
It's
really
a
fucking
big,
strong.
awesome action comedy.
And also a road movie.
And a road movie.
I think the stuff that you're talking about there is what kind of hampers it here. None of the fights look good. Chris Rock was doing Looney Tunes style facial performances the whole time. Like, you know what I mean? There's just stuff that he couldn't reach that someone like Tarantino in the same class was reaching at that point in time. So.
I say yes, and because like I think that the reason why Kevin Smith collapsed under all of it is because he was shamed out of his ambitions. You know what I mean? And I think that like a big problem that with entertainment and with people is that we hold everybody to a standard instead of being grateful for who somebody is. So like what Kevin Smith gives us, like how about we be grateful for it instead of critical of the stuff that fell short, as long as what he's giving us has value. You know what I mean? Which is why, again, you're right. Tarantino is a better filmmaker in every way, shape, and form. And every movie that Tarantino has made, even the ones I don't like, are better than the best thing Kevin Smith could even conceive. But at the same time, does that matter when it comes to art? Do we have to be objective when it comes to art? You know what I mean?
Because he brings something so unique to the table, it doesn't have to be in comparison to someone else.
Exactly.
Unique and
That's why
valuable.
5 star is kind of just a relative thing. It's like, do
Yeah.
you love this movie?
Anything
Is it-
after
you know?
4 is your opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Quick question, because I'm 44 years old and I didn't know then and I don't know now. Is the Golgothan a real thing?
No.
No? Okay.
Well, I mean, it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it basically
For a
is.
quarter of a
Real.
century.
Yeah.
And it's a fully realized mythology that's a lot stronger than half the fucking mythology we get in movies these days. Like, hold the fucking thought process of this movie, like, and all the mythology within it, hold that up to the Barbie mythology. You know, I mean, again, like the Barbie mythology nothing in it connects. Nothing in it is thought back 4 steps. You know what I mean? This is a brilliantly thought out movie, maybe too much.
Yeah, we can't all be George Lucas, right? Like,
Right, yeah.
You know, it's not always gonna connect.
Right, yeah.
I got some issues with George Lucas. I'd like to
Okay.
Name one. Name
the
one.
middle 3 movies. Let's
You mean 4, 5, and 6? I agree.
Okay, my mom's gonna explode if I don't call on her.
Okay.
So let's get
Talk
to my
about
mom.
issues.
Yes.
I have problems with Matt Damon. And I think he's cute as anything, but he's like a little boy. And ever since Stone and Parker made that cartoon movie, and somebody kept walking around going, Matt Damon, World Police or something, make.
Team America. World
Yeah. Everything Trey Parker and Matt Stone did feels like it kind of
to
comes
me,
from
he
this.
can't be
but-
Jason Bourne, he can't be Loki, and I don't know what the appeal is. I think any actor in Hollywood could play any Ben Affleck role. And as far as religion goes, the best scene of all, I don't care, it's Mel Brooks dropping that 3rd tablet in history of the world.
It is great.
I think Matt Damon's great actor.
He's
and
adorable.
I think he's one of the best. Him and Rick. I mean, it was so fun watching Alan Rickman.
Oh, yeah.
He's
So
just
fun.
such
I
a
love the stories in the
monster,
Q&A too about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Like you just see like he's working at a different level than a lot of people. It was also nice to see Linda Fiorentino get a mainstream lead role because she was like 90s erotic thriller. She carried so many movies, but she never really got the chance to shine the way she should have. So I think those to me were the 3 performances that like really stood out for me.
It's Affleck for me. But in that movie star, I have a Ben Affleck tattoo actually.
Wait.
He's my favorite actor. So
There you go.
Do you have a Kevin Smith tattoo?
yeah, it's both.
Okay.
It's the monkey from Clerks, the animated series, with "What About Ben Affleck" underneath. Yeah.
We got another hand over here, and then we'll wrap
I
it
feel
up.
like Damon and Affleck brought a lot of Goodwill Hunting
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
as well.
And I think Kevin Smith probably was like, "You guys have to bring that."
Yeah.
Because he brought us
yeah.
They came out 2 years prior.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because of him.
Going back to what you were saying about the feel, like, I mean, you remember, like, the Catholic League, they kind of set this up for all of us to be even more excited. Because we did love Kevin Smith at the time, especially, you know, Chasing Amy, and then this was right after. Clerks, obviously, Damon and Affleck had just come off of this, and then we knew that he was doing a religion movie, and that Catholics were protesting it,
Sure.
which was exciting. But all that did was, like, light an unnecessary fire to bring more attention to it, I think. You know?
Yeah,
So-
that always backfires every time. So, but let's start getting into some closing thoughts. Joe, anything else you want to mention to wrap it up?
No. I
Yeah.
mean, this is, you know, I mean, I guess the answer was yes. I genuinely think that if more people got into filmmaking, let alone the industry, to do things like this in good faith, and I actually think it's happening. I'm sorry, but like the new Wes Anderson movie, that's all about him giving control of his life back over to God. The new Mission Impossible movie, that's exactly what it's about. It's not a coincidence that it's a crucifix key that will go into the heart of AI to destroy it. Like it's actually Dogman, Book of Clarence, like all of these movies are actually the idea of God is being played with again. Not necessarily religion or Christianity or whatever, but God. Like the idea of power bigger than us is being played again by filmmakers in good faith now, and it's been kind of exciting. And I think that Phoenician Scheme is the best Wes Anderson movie in 15 years because it's the first one in 15 years where he's not going, I know exactly how to do what I'm doing. You know, it's the first thing where he goes, what are we doing? You know, that's more exciting to me. So I think that I'm glad this movie exists, and I think a lot of these filmmakers are kind of coming to the table now a quarter century later, and I hope Kevin Smith takes credit in his own heart for that.
Jason, how about you?
Nice.
Clearly, Joe's angling for a gig with Angel Studios right now. And I'm all for it. So I asked Joe to cast me all the time, and he's actually saving or helping save one of my movies right now. So we give each other crap. But
I have never once given you crap.
yeah, I'll show you the DMs. No, I mean, like this was an exciting movie, but even at the time, I think to me it fell short, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it right now, right? Like when I was watching Mallrats today, I'm like, dude, how much effort are you trying to put in to show that you're effortless? Like it's so efforted, that film. So it was nice to see something a little more driven. I wish that we would get something again from him that would excite me. Dave and I saw 4:30 movie last year, and it's like starting to come back, but I don't know if he's still got like all that left in him or whatnot.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to see something exciting and different. And I don't know if that's going back to a world or creating a totally new world. But I just feel like, for me, as someone like who grew up, like the reasons I wanted to get into film were Clerks, Swingers, right, and stuff like that. And I just feel like, it just descended rapidly for him, for me. So I'm still rooting for him, but if not, it gives me a chance to fight with these guys. So it's good either way, you know. So.
Absolutely. How about you, Anne?
I really enjoyed it my first time actually watching.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not like a huge movie person. Like a lot of the films you guys brought up, I was like just right over my head. But as far as like, I was looking at it in the frame of like how we rate Final Girlz movies, like our horror franchise, and so I'm gonna say great because it had a happy ending. I love the happy ending. The not too much blood and gore, but still some. I like the think that the general just like positivity of like, I don't know, goodness. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that goes back to what Joe was saying, too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what he said. And then the performances and the camera angles. Like there was a bunch of different times I was like, oh, that shot really interestingly, and like kind of like keeping it going. And
Robert Yeoman, Wes Anderson's original DVD.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
And I love a good like comedic, you know, like Jay, like every one of Jay's lines, I was just like dying when he's like takes his pants off. She's like, what are you doing? You promised.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be the only thing I was going to mention. But somehow we didn't really talk about Jay and Silent Bob that much through this conversation. So, I mean, God, they're so funny in this. Like, they're so funny. Even the bad movies, Clerks 3 and you know, Jay and Silent Bob reboot, they were still had funny scenes, but...
I think that's the playoff music. I actually think Kevin Smith is the best actor in the movie. I'm serious. I think Silent Bob's amazing.
Yeah. Well... Let's get some plugs in and let's get this thing done. Joe, where can people find you?
BlueMeansPregnantFilms.com or Blue Means Pregnant on Facebook. We've got 2 movies, Natasha Hall and Suffrage, on Amazon and Tubi. We'll have a few more coming out through Anchor Bay later this year, so keep a lookout.
Yeah, Jason. Boom.
Want me to plug what's
Yep,
going
you're going to do it. It'll be
yeah.
in the show notes, too. Don't worry.
Jason Harris Comedy or Jay Harris Comedy on all the socials. I do comedy all over the city, host a bunch of trivia nights. You guys are movie people. Come out, play, win some stuff. We're at Metro Pizza every Wednesday in Green Valley, every Tuesday at Jive Turkey in the Arts District. So come on through, come see some comedy, and come win some prizes from us.
There you go.
That's all I
Anne,
got.
where can people find you?
And I'm Anne Flagg. You can check my website. Find me on Instagram for tour dates. I'm in Vegas and Southern California regularly. And check out my YouTube channel, Final Girlz with a Z.
Right on. And we'll be back here at Downtown Cinemas for Megan 2.0 on June 26th. We'll also be at Maya Cinemas for 28 Years Later on June 19th. So, everybody, that's our show for tonight. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Wax Trax Records here on 2909 South Decatur. We buy all your old 45s, your old albums, any type of music memorabilia. Also, we sell music memorabilia, albums, CDs, and a lot. Come on down to Wax Trax, 2909 South Decatur, or give me a call at 702-362-4300. Thank you very much.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Dogma. Thank you so much to Joe Black, Jason Harris, and Anne Flagg, and to everyone who showed up at Downtown Cinemas, and thank you to Downtown Cinemas as well. But also thank you to you for listening if you're hearing this one here on the podcast. Make sure you are subscribed. You can do that wherever it is you're listening right now. Of course, maybe drop us a 5-star rating on that app of your choice. That would really help to get more people checking out the show, and then we could do all kinds more fun stuff like these live shows and everything else that we do. Check piecingpod.com for your chance to win tickets to the next 2 live shows. I'll also be announcing a couple of more coming up in July and August very, very soon. So go ahead and check that out. You could also subscribe to the mailing list. It's on Substack. You can find the link at piecingpod.com as well. Links to everything, including all of my great guests' information, which I know the playoff music started playing. We had a lot to say during that Dogma conversation, so we went a little long, and the music for the next movie, the pre-show trailers started playing. Anyway, I'm rambling here, but you can find all that stuff in the show notes and at piecingpod.com. With that said, let's close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And I think I played this one pretty recently, but I mean, for a movie with the themes of Dogma, I got to go with a track called Falling for Faith. This is an instrumental piece from my album Missing Pieces, but given the title, it feels like a good fit here for Dogma. So let's go with Falling for Faith from my album Missing Pieces. By the way, this Friday, I've got a new single coming out called Ruined Earth. More about that soon, but right now we're going to play you off with Falling for Faith. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.